And now we hear a piece of music from Brad's brother Bill. He's going to play his own composition or something else. Thank you.
I wish I wrote Amazing Grace.
I get to occupy this space here where everybody can see me, and I crack some jokes about Brad. Mel's going to be introduced in a moment. So I have to explain how it is a little bit how I'm here and why I'm here. That'll become more apparent as we go on. But I first met Brad in a mall, a shopping mall, called Destiny, and appropriately named. He was serving in the store, and I went in there to get some kind of top, sweater, and he immediately wanted to sell me jeans. I didn't want jeans, but he insisted on showing me these jeans. He was kind of wired, you know. I was wondering why, you know, Express really wanted to sell their jeans. They had to get rid of them somehow or other. But anyway, then he popped the question straight out as I was looking at these jeans. He said, "What do you do?" I thought it was rather strange for a shopping assistant to ask me what I did. But I said, "Well, I teach." He said, "What do you teach?" I said, "I teach theology." "Good," he says. "What do you think of evolution?" I don't think many people are going to a store get to have that kind of experience in a local supermarket, you know. But anyhow, that was, and I did answer. I said, "Well, okay, you know, you never know when you're going to get a serious question." And I said, "Well, I think it's a good thing." And I said, in addition, I think it's in the Bible. So anyway, there he was in a nutshell, something I thought, and he kind of liked that answer. And of course, there's a whole package of thought and theology, and of course the way churches and they view things, all in there. So he then connected. He wanted to connect with more of what I was, what I thought. So here's a man, and this is what I want to say. I'm not going to go on for long, but here's a man who is asking questions and looking for answers. He's a man. He'd just come back from West Africa, from Guinea, and he needed a framework. He didn't have a framework. I mean, he just had this big experience, huge experience, really. I mean, if you talk to him, he will tell you about it. But it was a huge experience, which in many ways blew him away. You know, he wasn't the same person when he came back as when he went out there. And so he needed a framework, and I had been through that myself at one time in my life. I really seriously needed a framework, and I was fortunate enough, or blessed enough, to have individuals, a couple of people, especially one person, who was able to give that to me, who was in some way able to answer my questions. So I related to what Brad was seeking, and he started coming to our Bible study that we have every Friday night. We still have it. Anyone wants to come to Syracuse, you can come and see us. It's called Woodhat Hope. You can Google it, Woodhat Hope, you might know. But anyway, he started coming, and then, you know, he was getting these answers. So he's talking to Mel on the phone, and Mel's out here in Milwaukee, you know, 1,000 miles away. And he says, and so they're thinking about, you know, they're joining their paths together. And he said, "Well, I want you to come to Syracuse." He said, "Where? What's Syracuse? What's in Syracuse?" He said, "Well, there's this Bible study community." So the importance of getting answers dragged Melanie all the way from this place here, which is, of course, the center of the universe, dragged her over to Syracuse. So she came to live in Syracuse for a year and a half or something. And they used to come to our Bible study, and I remember very distinctly, because they're always running. I mean, I think there's in everything they run. I mean, they're moved. They're the little bunnies, you know, the Duracell bunnies. They're running all the time, and I can remember their little woolly beanie hats outside the window on a cold Syracuse night. So they're always bobbing, and they're late. They're 10 minutes late. That's why they're running. So they're bobbing up and down, coming into, and it's mentally, you know, it's fixed into till my dying day. The little bobbing heads. They come into our Bible study. So they were seeking answers, and especially Brad, and. I think they did receive some kind of framework for their lives, or Brad did for sure, and I think Melanie progressively did so. So that's the beginning really of how our lives are intertwined. Now Brad, because of his questioning disposition, his seeking answers framework, was known at school as the philosopher. Is that true? I'm not making that up, am I? No, okay, all right. He was known as the philosopher. Billy, is that true? Yes. Come on. Can I have an hour?
Yes, amen.
Yeah, right.
Yes, thank God.
Okay. And, well, you know, that's partly true. But philosophers are up in their heads, you know. That I mean, classically they do the thinking stuff. Brad is a deeply reflective person, but not simply in an abstract philosophical way. He is a compassionately reflective person, deeply compassionate. And those people who are both reflective and compassionate, or compassionately reflective, analytic even in their compassion, are not common people. They're unusual people. And so I think that describes Brad for me, and I'm privileged to know him. And I'm privileged to assist at his wedding to Mel, who also has some wonderful things to be said about her, but it's not my job to say that stuff about Mel, but I'm privileged to be assisting at their wedding today. Thank you. And now we're going to hear from Rael, who's going to tell some funny stories.
My name's Rael, and I don't have mine memorized. But Melanie and I met in the 1st grade. Back then, she made fun of me for having saddle shoes, and I disliked her because she was the best at skip it. But our friendship, thankfully, has come a long way in the past 22 years. Melanie is very different, just as Tony described and as Mark described, and so is Brad. And she always has been. And I think it's fair to say that she dances to a different beat in life. By dancing to a different beat, I mean tucking her skirt in her underpants to walk up the stairs at school in 7th grade. And I mean taking her temperature after seeing a Winterfresh gum commercial that said her mouth would be much, much cooler. And dancing to a different beat could mean weekends of skiing with plastic bags shoved in our snow pants so our bottoms wouldn't get wet. And I haven't known Brad as long as Melanie. But I do know their compatibility, and I see their intertwined acts of service, not only to each other, but to others. They're so unique as a couple. Their lives project selflessness, and they've made and are making life decisions that other people aspire to their whole lives. So I guess in a sense, they're both dancing to a different beat. They dedicated several years of their life in the Peace Corps, helping those less fortunate. They're offering themselves through their internships that they've been working on, loving people and helping people work through issues that they face. Romans 12 says that love must be sincere. It says, be devoted to one another in your brotherly love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor, serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. Share with God's people who are in need. Not only in life, but also in marriage, these verses are faithful. Together, Melanie and Brad's lives are full of giving, sharing, and love. And Melanie and Brad are different. They do things very different. Just ask them about their name change after the ceremony. I couldn't be happier for them individually and as a couple, and I think you guys are both so blessed.
Thank you for that beautiful